Yeah, but then people don't get to see me dance. I mean, I've never danced like this in my life, apart from on camera for everybody, but, you know, that's the way it goes. Welcome, everybody, to Tanked Up, the podcast about video games and craft beer, and occasionally dancing. Occasionally. No dancing now, from now on, though. That's it. We're done. Strictly games and beer.
What about if we're talking about Just Dance?
That's
2022.
Then we can
even then, we're not going to talk about it because it's an Ubisoft game, and fuck Ubisoft.
Oh, yeah, shit. Anyway, I'm Ben. It's episode 268. I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey,
I didn't do mocap for Just Dance. That's somebody else. But I am just as talented.
It's true. I completely agree. And we're also here with Aadil.
Hey.
Hey. Did you do mocap for anything?
No.
Oh.
Jesus. In that Jesus game that was meant to come out.
Jesus game.
Yes.
Jesus. There's many Jesus games, I would assume.
I mean, I'm sure there's a...
In
fact, I'm going to have to look for one so I can stream it.
There was like I Am Christ or something like that, or like I can't remember. There was this Steam game that people were like, "Oh, you get to play as Jesus Christ." It was just some asset game that got a trailer somehow, and yeah, I think you can make. What did you do? Bread out of more bread and water out of wine out of water,
fish
and
out
feed
of grass
the
or
fish.
something.
Yeah, I think he feeds 4,000 or whatever. Yeah,
just
all sounds plausible
in the water.
I'm gonna find this game because I didn't fall over and knock myself on the head. It's definitely a real game.
Whilst everyone's doing their Jesus research, Lucy, you've already started drinking.
Yeah, it was just with dinner. This is from. Is that the name of the brewery? It says Forest and Maine. Forest and Maine and Beak, so I'm guessing collaboration.
Yeah.
Have you heard of either of these before?
Yeah, I've had beer from Beak before.
Okay. Forest and Maine are in Pennsylvania, so probably that's why I haven't.
Maine with an E, I would assume.
And the Beak Brewery are in over here, wherever Lewis is. Yeah, it's a saison 6.5%. It's called Cliff. It's okay. It's not. I picked it up because saisons are just few and far between. You know, which is sad, even coming into like the heat of summer. But yeah, it's okay. It's a bit. Maybe I didn't leave it in the fridge for long enough because nothing better than a nice cold saison. I don't know if a bit of flatness because it was just a bit too warm or something, but it's still getting nice estery, like clovey flavors from it. It's nice. Poured a nice color as well, so nice cloudy, slightly off straw color.
Nice.
It's okay. It's okay. Not the best saison out there.
Okay,
for sure.
That's fair. That's fair. Are you going to smash that one back and open another one up in this initial round? Do you think?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Got this left.
We'll roll all the way through then. Aadil, what are you drinking first?
I'm drinking this beer, which is called the King Maker 2021 by Buxton Brewery. It's a triple IPA, a tripla.
TIPA.
TIPA? Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen so many tippers lately.
Yeah.
I had like
absolutely.
7 downstairs. It's just,
yeah.
Is it in vogue or?
I guess, yeah. Right. So it's by Buxton. When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. That's all the flavor text. It's a weird couplet. It's a 10.5% triple IPA. It has no information on the hops that are in it. That's all I got. It is very sweaty on the tin. Probably because it's, real hot in this room.
It's muggy. It's been overcast most of the day, but quite humid.
That's influenced the beers that I have picked this evening as well. I'm going to kick off with a milkshake IPA. It's from New Bristol Brewery called the Boogie Below. It's 5%. It's got a lovely little soft landscape scene on it. They do have a little bit of flavour text occasionally. Yes. Packed with mango, pineapple, coconut and citrus flavours. Smooth and creamy with a rounded bitterness. All making for one wildly tropical IPA. It's got Citra, Idaho 7 and Sabro in. Has it got lactose and stuff? It's a milkshake IPA, so I think it does. Yeah, oats, wheat, lactose, barley. Cool. So that's what I'm going to have because it's hot and I wanted something sort of, you know, kind of a bit more refreshing, but something a bit more full-bodied as well.
That makes sense. Are you a fan of milkshake IPAs usually?
Yeah. I've had a
dependent
few which
on
have been very good. I've had a few which have been just not very good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what New Bristol
Hit and miss.
I've got. Exactly. Perfect. Right. We'll get these poured. Lucy, what are you going to open?
I also dressed for the weather, and I have a beer from Grimm in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
Is their full name Grimm Artisanal? I can't remember. Anyway, this is called Purple Prose. It is photo-fermented golden sour ale with blackcurrants and raspberries.
Okay.
6%. It's 1.9 fluid ounces. It's bottled this year, so it hadn't, had time to age or anything. But should bring it in frame. Nice art on the bottle.
That is nice.
Yeah, Purple Prose. So.
Oh, I've got condensation all over me.
That.
It's dripping everywhere. Perfect. Aadil, we'll roll back round then to you for the Buxton. What percentage was it you said, a TIPA?
10.5.
Okay.
But also I have been informed that the couplet is from Macbeth.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So that's where the King Maker 2021 makes a little more sense. Look at this. Poor, very cloudy, nice and yellow.
Yeah, very.
I'd say it's a little more honey colored in person than in this very yellowly lit room. I'm getting some nice tropical notes like mango and a little bit of maybe peach or apricot. It's almost like a creamsicle version of the mango or the tropical fruit. Like there's just a sweetness coming along with it as well. That sweetness, creamsicle stuff. It's quite creamy, nice, thick, and velvety. Coming obviously from the 10% plus. Finish is quite sweet, tropical right now.
Okay.
But there's a lovely, slightly piney bitterness that sits below everything. But I think probably just because of the richness of the alcohol, that sweetness is just way more pervasive than I would think. So like there's moments where I'm like, yes, there's that bitter. And then it's like crowded away. And now I'm getting a bit of like more tangerine type sweetness. No, mandarin. That's the sweet. Okay. Slightly citrus. This is really refreshing, and after a day of fighting technology and perhaps losing years of work, exactly what I was needing. I was avoiding the drink earlier, knowing that I would be having this and another reasonably strong beer. I think can't remember. Yep. So
there's any reason to drink. That might have been technology just failing.
Yeah. There's something else going on that I can't quite place, but mostly I'm really enjoying now that I've sort of gotten used to some of the other tastes, that there is this sort of mandarin flavor coming out along with a lingering light piney bitterness, which is interesting because I think because the citrus is so sweet, I'm not getting the standard. Well, it's got a bit of bitter and a bit of citrus. Must be grapefruit. I'm getting none of that because all the citrus is up with the sugar, the sweetness.
Yeah.
And the bitterness is like way more reserved, so obviously separate, kind of below everything. And like I said, it's like just a slightly piney bitterness. It's a really interesting beer, and I suspect I'll by the end of it I'll have sussed out these cloudy notes a little more. But yeah, really enjoying it.
Great.
Good.
Amazing. Cool. This New Bristol, it's a little bit weak. I don't know whether it's the 5%, but everything is a little bit sort of dialed back, it feels like, in this straight away, kind of initial thought.
It looks like it has no carbonation.
It didn't
Yeah,
at all.
looks
Pulled
like
almost
juice.
no head. You can see a few little bubbles sort of popping up, but again, it's a little more washed out on my camera than I think it actually is in person. But very, very light mango on the nose, super, super light, and that comes through in the flavour as well. It is very, very light in flavour, but you get that mango and you get a tiny, tiny hint of that pineapple as well. It's there. It's almost like sort of like a tropical fruit juice, but not as a juice, like as a squash, like a tropical fruit squash that you've had lots of water put in with it, but then mixed with coconut water as well. So again, you've got that coconut taste. It's a little bit refreshing, but those kind of two bits, that kind of tropical squash here and that coconut water, are kind of not quite sort of gelling with each other very well. And it works well enough that it isn't sort of egregious. It isn't a horrible flavour. It's just, here's the tropical fruits, here's a bit of the coconut, and then it goes into this slightly more creamy kind of finish to it, which the lactose and I think the oats are doing a little bit of lifting towards the end. Not getting much bitterness off it at all. The sort of the creaminess doesn't really run through the entire sort of flavour. It is this finish that very much says milkshake IPA rather than the entire beer. So it's a little bit disappointing in that sort of respect, saying that it's sort of a milkshake IPA. I mean, it is, but you just don't get it in the body and the main flavour of the beer. So it's kind of, it's easy enough, and I think it would be one of those beers that I was like, you go out, you see it on tap, and it might be your first sort of 2/3 of a night, just to sort of ease you in to a session. Now, it was only about 5%, something like that. 5%. So on a hot day, it is sort of refreshing, but I would think that there are beers out there which will do that better for you. There are milkshake IPAs out there which will be more milkshake, more in the style out there as well, and there'll be more beers which have a bigger hit to them at 5% as well, that pack a bit more flavour at that lower ABV. So I think it just tries to do a bit too much, really, and doesn't quite hit those heights that New Bristol normally do. So I'll keep drinking it, obviously. But Lucy, we'll come to you for Grimm.
It is not Grimm. Lovely red.
Very red.
Very red. Very, I want to say opaque completely. Yeah, nice. Slightly pink, like one finger head, but still getting a bit of carbonation in there. I've already added it, but it's really good. It's not quite on the levels of, I don't know, Cantillon or anything.
Sure.
I think it probably could have done with like aging a bit more, and I think that would like really enhance the flavor. But yeah, definitely getting those red berries in there, bit of raspberry. In fact, mostly raspberry, I'd say. Yeah, very tart. So if it's your first sour beer, maybe not go for this one.
Mm.
But yeah,
Use
it's
yourself
got
in
that lovely,
elsewhere.
yeah, that lovely. I mean, it doesn't sound appealing for people who don't like sours, but that nice slight acridity and like vinegar-ness to it, where it's like, yeah, it's a really well made sour, and I'd love to know what like the blending process was with this, because it feels like if you age this, it could, almost sit on a level as like a Cantillon or the best lambics about. But yeah, this is good. It's really refreshing. It's perfect for this kind of weather.
Amazing.
Yeah, New York continuing to doing the good stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I've had an American beer or a US brewed beer.
Yeah.
That isn't an IPA or a double IPA.
Probably.
Or
is that just because
East Coast? Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had, say, like a sour from a US brewery. I don't know whether that's because of the beers that I tend to gravitate towards when I'm in the bottle shop, or maybe just sort of what we get available over here.
Well, yeah, possibly, because I think like a lot of like New England and New York have adopted have looked over to Belgium and tried to adopt that kind of practices, and a lot of them do like brew like lambic beers now, but yeah, I think it's just about availability, because people queue up around the corner for some of those American breweries, which is insane. But I guess I get it. I get it. But
absolutely. If you lived around the corner from them, you probably would.
Yeah, laughing. Yeah, but anyone out of state or anything else, it's like gonna be hard to get. But
traveling every Friday for that beer drop.
Yeah, just take a ferry across the Atlantic, which is kind of in line with a game I need to talk about. Actually.
If you're finished with your beer, we'll launch straight in, Lucy. Go for it.
I just made that segue in my head, so it's like this is perfect.
Amazing.
It's called Overboard, which is the most recent game from Inkle. They like just surprise dropped it a few weeks ago. I think they said that they only spent like 4 months or something in developing it, which is really interesting. And just it sounds good to have, like, I know like Biffle Games do this kind of like very small project thing, see how quickly can get it out, without overscoping in that time. Yeah, it's not quite. It's more like 80 days in the last couple Inkle games that they put out, like Heaven's Vault and Pendragon. It's more akin to 80 days. The premise of the game is you're this wife of like probably this upper class, maybe aristocrat from the Disney film.
I mean, it's a shame it's not both.
Sadly, no cats in the game that I found. Yeah, you basically the wife of this like upper class gentleman. The start of the game is you tip him overboard at the ship. You're on this like ship, transatlantic ship going from the UK to the US, because they're going to settle there, because it turns out your husband probably blew all his money on gambling or something, or just bad investments, and it's like, find a new life in America. Yeah, so this very start of the game, it's like, you hear this this dialogue, this like kind of scuffle between this woman and her husband. Tips him overboard, and then it's the next morning, and basically you have to try and get away with murder by convincing everyone on the ship that you did not kill your husband.
Okay.
It's really interesting, because it's I think it's about, you've got about 7-8 hours at that point until you dock into New York, and presumably she's just going to run off the boat and go live a happy life in America, just run off to the west or Alaska or something and not be found ever again. But so you have this time frame, and all these different actions that you can do on the boat basically eats up time throughout your day. So there's several different characters on the boat who could all potentially be eyewitnesses to the murder,
Yeah.
Right.
or just be nosy or have a grudge against you. Like there's one character who had this lover's tryst, had this kind of affair with your husband, and she doesn't like you. Or there's this middle-aged, very stereotypical middle-aged woman who's like very gossipy, and it's like, oh, I was there when at night, and there's all these different characters, and it's about interacting with them. It's sort of like on a kind of like a sort of like a Sexy Brutale kind of time loop, where it's like, I need to get this done by this time so that this person doesn't see this, or this person doesn't notice this, or this person isn't curious about this. So just one early example is you have 2 earrings, but you lost one of the earrings in the scuffle, so that earring is now on the deck where you push your husband over. So if someone looking around there picks it up and notices, they're going to be like, why is this here? And there's different dialogue options. It's like, okay, that's not mine, or that is mine, how did it get there? Or that can be the first thing you do that day. You can go and get that earring, pick it up before that person gets there.
Right.
So
it's
all these different.
Is it sort of a set of kind of, you pick sort of like the different actions that you have to do, and that may then elicit conversation kind of with characters that you meet along the way, sort of thing? Yeah.
Or conversely, it makes that character not have that dialogue option then to be suspicious or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting kind of mechanic, and the day loops very quickly. Each day you can skip through dialogue because it is a game meant to be replayed. It's very unlikely that you'll probably get away with murder on the first go. So it's about learning like who these characters are, what they suspect, where they are at what time during the day. How do I make them less suspicious? How do I get these characters on side? How do I do this and that? And so it loops. You play several loops. Well, as long as you want to, but I'd like to get away with murder. So it's basically you pick up the information each time, and there are some things that are like persistent. So if you like, flirt with this one character and have, your way with him at a certain point in the game, he's going to be on side for the rest of the for each time loop, which is interesting. So it's not like you have to go do that kind of that narrative. You don't have to go down that narrative route again, because that would get tedious. It's like, okay, then I have to seduce him, and then I have to do this, and then I have to do this. It would become very regimented and samey. Whereas with this, with the way the game works, it's like, okay, I've got him on side. I don't have to worry about interactions. You still have some interactions, and you still need to do some things, but it's like, that's one narrative route that I've like checked off. I've ticked off, and it sort of has like this this checklist as well to it. But yeah, that's I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory, because it it is a narrative game, so I probably won't touch too much on the narrative. Those are the main beats, but
I really like that idea that those choices and some of the things that you make persist through those different runs, because it means that you don't have to just play. It's not that you play it a certain way and then one decision is what kind of catches you out, and then you play it the second time and you play it all the way through and like, haha, I won't make that decision, I'll make the opposite one, and that's the only sort of thing that throws you through. There must be so many branching paths in this and so many decisions that you can make, that they've decided to allow that to persist kind of through, which is really nice. Allows you to experience everything, but also I would think gives you a sense of progress as well.
Absolutely.
That you're not just batting your head against the wall, you're doing those checklist kind of things, And then, it might be run 10, it might be run 20, it might be run 40. But at some point, you'd have hit all of those checklist things, and that will kind of be it. You'd have sort of done everything and will get away with it, essentially.
Yeah. And exactly that. There is progression. It feels like you're being rewarded for, your sleuthing, your, finding information out, trying new things. And it also brings, builds this quality of life, what's the word? It's sort of like you can skip the dialogue. Basically,
Right.
repeated dialogue,
okay.
you can skip it.
Mhm.
So it's
Right.
not like you're having to go through text, like
Nice.
pressing A between.
Yeah,
It's like
it's the jump cut in a time looping TV
Yeah.
show or movie.
Mm.
They start the conversation and they jump cut to the end,
Mhm.
so that and that tells you that nothing changed in the middle from what you said last time.
absolutely, you can skip and you can like sleep through like most of your journey. So it's like I have to meet this person in the chapel on the boat here at 3:00. I don't want to do anything else on this run, because I just want to see what that is. But it's quite funny. I think it's not frustrating because these runs are very quick and you can skip dialogue. But it's always like there's this one person who's like, but what about this? And it is like set in like 1920s, era. So it's like there's no DNA testing. So it's just like, well, you were up there with your husband.
Yeah.
Must have been you. You didn't just fall overboard. But yeah, there's I find that more funny than frustrating, where it's just like, oh, but what about this? And it's like, who are you? You just came out of the woodworking that you hating me for murder.
Just some bloke
you
turns
just
around
have
like, bah!
suspicion. Yeah,
I saw you do it.
yeah. It's quite funny because you're like, okay, I've set this up. This is going perfect.
Mm.
And then this guy, he's ex-Navy man. No, sorry. I think he's just ex-Army. He was in the services, and he just comes out of nowhere and just says, "Well, your earring was up there. It must have been you or something like that."
Everyone
I
else is
find
just
it
like, oh,
quite
he's ex-army. He's
entertaining.
obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
He must be right.
We trust
Who
him.
cares what this woman says? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the dialogue's really good, as you'd expect for a Inkle game. Most of it's reading. Only parts of it are like voice acted. But the little bits of voice acting are really good. It's like at the end of the day, when you know if you've been caught or not, or basically you can not be framed for his, not be caught for his murder, but if it's deemed as a suicide, it means you don't get any of his money. So there's no insurance payout. So, and you just hear us say, "Oh, bugger," and it's just really
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's a really really neat idea. For only a couple of months worth of work, it's really interesting and another good Inkle game. So
Perfect.
that's Overboard.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Amazing.
I think it's on Switch, PC, iOS, and probably Android. Hopefully.
What did you play it on, Liz?
Switch, which is it's a perfect console for everything, isn't it? So. Yeah.
How long did you say you've put into it?
Oh gosh, I'd have to look on my Switch, which probably wouldn't tell me anyway. Probably about.
Damn it!
Bless you. Probably about 3 hours, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just
I'm
a
gonna-
wild guess. Yeah. Is it the
I'm gonna
hay
go
fever?
blow my nose. My hay fever's clearly kicking in.
Yeah.
And now, luckily to you, I only managed to miss one sneeze before I hit the mute.
I thought you did very well. To be fair.
Oh man,
Yeah.
the Kim and Evelyn have just been streaming all day.
Wow. I think I had it like once for like one summer. And then nowadays it's like there may be one day of the entire year that I get it, and
Really?
for the rest I'm fine, yeah.
Okay.
Or I'm at Aadil's house and his Canadian cat just destroys me, which is bizarre.
Just sits on you, and you're like, oh, brilliant. It just it hits me completely all over. Yeah. One tiny bit of cat hair goes back to Birmingham with you as well. Just ruins it for a week.
It's like in The Simpsons when the koala's on the bottom of the helicopter. Yeah, it's strange. It's that pollen.
That's
No
it.
good.
It's obviously Bristol's obviously hit with it today, with the cloud coverage as well, and it being a bit more muggy. It's all just stayed around for everyone. Anyway, video games. We're going to roll through pretty quickly this evening because E3 happened. And I think there's probably a lot to talk about. You're muted still. There's probably a lot to talk about around our favourite bits. But I want to make sure, Aadil, we get a bit of time with you as well. If there's any games that you wanted to talk about this week.
Sure. I played a game this week. It was called... Oh, my audio is not
Beasts
working.
of
the photo one.
Yeah, thank you. Beasts of Maravilla Island, or Maravilla Island, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Maravilla.
I prefer Maravilla because it sounds like maravilloso. And it's supposed to be like this marvelous place. It's a third-person Pokemon Snap-alike. Except it is exactly what I was saying I wanted in that type of game when Lucy was saying, oh yeah, you're on rails and you have to just repeat things. Instead, it's like you have segments of the forest, well, different biomes, but essentially like a forest, a cave, a jungle, and then like a forest nighttime thing, and then part of that was a cave. I only did the first 2 areas. I think there's probably only 1, maybe 2 more, just judging by the thing. And yeah, you are a granddaughter in the sense that you have your grandfather's notebook, and you decide to go look for this magic island he told you about when you were a kid, and it turns out it's real. And you find the island, and it's full of magical, miraculous creatures. You basically have to find all the plants, butterflies, bugs, and some other thing, and then there's a primary animal which will have 4 or 5 behaviors that you have to capture, and it's very easy, except I missed 1 bug in my second area, and that annoyed the crap out of me. But when you get to the
was it Caterpie?
I don't know, I missed it. So quick rundown though. You have the camera, and you go into first person mode when you hit start camera, and you've got a static frame, and you've got like D-pad to zoom in a little bit and to change your height a little bit, and the clicking in on the L stick will crouch. And that's all you have. As Ben asked, there's no aperture, which is unfortunate, but basically you're framing shots, and if the thing is in the middle, so basically there's like there's slightly gray bars on the top and bottom of the screen that tell you that's not going to be in the framing of the photo, because standard photo aspect ratio is different than 1920 by 1080, right? And then there's a big rectangle, just like a camera, that sort of says this is, which normally would be on a rangefinder, which is what it's trying to imitate, this is what you're actually going to take a picture of, but actually it takes a picture wider, which is fine. They don't have to be experts at how rangefinder cameras work, I guess. And then there's an internal one, which is usually used for focus, but that's also the internal sort of half square. Is whatever's in the middle of that will be what it thinks you're taking the picture of. And so when you're trying to take pictures of like a new frog, it has to be pretty central to the frame, kind of like you were saying Pokemon Snap was, which is fine, right? If the idea is like, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
What I like is
an AI judging things. It's like,
well, and this AI is just judging what are you taking a picture of, and then your camera memory is very oddly capped at 20 images per thing, which is a little odd because if you're trying to take like a wide shot of a bunch of things, but you've taken a bunch of shots of, say, I really like that frog. I've taken 20 of that frog, and in this wide shot, there's a frog in the middle, it's going to be like you're taking a picture of this frog. Sorry, you've got 20 shots of it, which I never actually hit. So I'm just saying, like, theoretically, it's just a weird bound. But I get because it's trying to categorize it because you have a photo book essentially. Like you're like, oh, look at my photos, and then it's like puts them in categories. And there's a great one which is a dumping ground which didn't seem to have a cap, which is like nature shots, which is basically whatever. And what I liked about it was, as Ben saw and commented on in the stream, was I kind of was just wandering about. Like once I took the picture of the thing, I was like, cool, I have one. And in the beginning, a little while, it's like, okay, you can have a main picture of the stack of, say, all the things of the banana
bird,
parrot, or banana bird, whatever it was called. And you could pick which one was at the forefront. After a few times of doing that, I'm like, I don't care. I'll just like the photo album didn't entice me enough, probably because you couldn't do any further editing, etc. So it's like, oh, I kind of like being able to look through these shots. But I'm not really fussed about which, just because the first shot I took of this set thing was bad, I don't really care if it's on the top, if that makes sense. I'm fine to just click on the thing, see all the shots of the thing I had, and maybe delete some in case I bump into it again. I do think that if they had done a little more, given that like that's the primary gameplay mechanic besides like wandering about and some decent little puzzle things, like some plants, there's like a spotlight plant which you take a picture with your flash and then it blossoms and shoots a beam of light, and then you can aim that beam of light to do various things, like have a plant that was docile grow into a huge beanstalk so you can climb it later. That kind of thing is really cool. I like that it's light and puzzly. It's clearly not meant to be difficult, and so like almost all of the in the first area you have these bird monkeys that you've decided to call binkies, and it's like see them with their tails twinned together, see them gliding, see them singing, seeing them dancing. And there's literally, like, if you just follow the path of the game, it'll like hit you like a static area. It'll do a little cutscene and be like, now they're doing this, you should whistle, and maybe they'll whistle back. And then like even in the second area, it was pretty handholdy you are definitely in the situation where you will see the activity that they are asking for, which I thought was actually better even for someone who likes more challenge, because then I could just, I like the checklist to make sure I'm like paying attention and going through the game. But then as soon as I started paying attention, I was kind of just taking pictures as I wandered around and just trying to take interesting shots and like lining up. And then so the minimal zoom I had kind of sucked. But there was also like this moment where there were these butterflies that were on a log, and I like walked up and like, oh, the best framing would be like a bit closer, but I'm a little hesitant. Took the shot, took one step, and they all left. And I was like, this is what like nature photography kind of is like, right? You have to sacrifice pure composition based on the limitation of your gear and scaring the animals away, and it captured that in a really cool way. It's just, yeah, I wish the like photo engine, for lack of a better term, just had a little more literal depth, because when everything is always in focus, you just like, you can take a shot where like there's this flower in the foreground, but you kind of want it to, like, I was engaged enough with the photography the game wants me to do that I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I had this blown out orchid and this frog in the foreground or whatever. But actually it's just this very clear orchid and this very clear frog, and that's not the type of shot I was trying to make, and there was no way to have anything out of focus, which, like, I was quite happy with, hey, I've just got a rangefinder, so you're gonna have minimal zoom and minimal framing. You don't have to wander around and try and crouch and do whatever to make it work. But then it was like, but I want to do more because you're letting me do more. Like, I really felt like I was going on a photo walk with my camera, and then I was like, but I'm not with my camera. So that just was a little disappointing. Other than that, my only real complaint was like when you're climbing, you can't go into selfie mode or even take a picture mode, which, having been a photographer who's like climbed a thing to take a better angle on a thing. I was like, and some of the coolest shots of like the environment were when you were climbing up because you had depth, right? You had this height of where you were coming from shrinking and where you were going. And there was no way to capture that, like the majesty of the world they made, because you couldn't use camera while climbing. And it's fine. It was like literally that's just a minor complaint because I was like, oh, that would be a cool shot. Oh, I can't make it. But I think it's a really neat game. Nice and simple, but really like interesting, and like all the creature designs were pretty good. Like when you go into the nighttime area, instead of looking for birds, you're looking for bats, and a lot of they're like mashup animals, right? Like banana, hibiscus birds, you know, the woolly bat, which has like looks like a sheep on the inside and is all white, like really cute. And the puzzles, like I said, were pretty light based, which was good for a photography game, but also that made me wish that there was more dynamic light in the game. But yeah, I think I have no idea how much it was because we got a key. Our Beasts of Maravilla. I will look up on Steam right now. Oh yeah, I played it on Steam. I think it's on other things.
Could be on Switch.
Yeah, it is currently $6.47 on Steam, but normally $7.19.
That sounds like a good price, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember looking up and being like, oh, this makes sense. Like this is great.
Yeah.
A few hours, really interesting, pretty unique still, I would say, gameplay. It is indeed also on the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbone.
Okay. Well, everything. You see, this could go both ways, couldn't it? Like, Pokemon Snap, people finish Pokemon Snap. I want something more akin to that. I'm now, you know, in this very weird niche kind of game space. I'm looking for other things, and people look to that. Or, conversely, and hopefully not, it's like, I got my fill from Pokemon Snap. It would be better if this came out, you know, before the new Pokemon Snap was even announced. So, could go either way, you know. Hopefully it's the former, because that happens with me sometimes. It's like I play one game and it's like I want to look for something else in that genre, and I look to other, you know, other games with other budgets, other devs, you know. So hopefully it can only do well given Pokemon Snap came out.
I mean, I think there's a big difference with the walking yourself versus being on rails, and obviously not being a Pokemon thing. I think is helpful. Like it's gonna draw the people who are like, I want more picture game. Actually, so in that sense, I think it's probably gonna be like more likely to get people from Pokemon Snap than they would have otherwise. I think.
Yeah,
it's my gut about it.
There'll always be a few people that played Pokemon Snap because it's a Pokemon game.
Oh yeah, and I'm saying you're never getting them from like before. So basically, what I'm saying is, if this released before Pokemon Snap, these people wouldn't pay attention to that game, and if it's come after, they still wouldn't. But the people who are sort of interested in like that type of gameplay, I think, will hopefully find some fruit from it. And then when they have the fruit, they'll glow, and then someone will take a picture of them because it's on a checklist.
Brilliant.
How you're saying the game felt easy, and Pokemon Snap is a pretty chill game, but it seems like the way they put difficulty in Pokemon Snap, you can say artificially and not to anybody's benefit, or whatever you want if you don't like this kind of difficulty, which I think you had, you know, when I was talking to you about it, it seems like this would frustrate you. The fact that it's like you're on rails and it's like you have to like go through the whole thing again to get that perfect shot, which seems like it seems like there should be a happy medium between the Beast game and Pokemon, where it's like have that difficulty in like getting that perfect shot, but it's not a case of like, oh, you know, this thing on rails on the track, it's gone, that's it. You have to do it again, or you know, things flying off, or
It can kind of
Yeah.
be on rails and take you through a sort of a set path, but just allow you to control that
Yeah, I think
movement
if you could
back and
pause or reverse, I
Yeah.
think that would change a lot of
Oh,
my like worry about. But like what I liked about, but I also as I said on the stream, like there's a thing a joke photographers have about manual zoom, which is getting closer to the subject.
Yeah.
And with wildlife photography, that's very much a trade-off of being noticed, scaring them off, etc. But I really enjoyed doing that, and I think being on a rails path, and no matter what you do, you can't like approach the subject in different angles or try and get closer, because obviously even if you are sitting here and you zoom all the way in on a telephoto lens, on like a zoom lens, versus walking, like getting closer to the subject on the same vector, you're still gonna have a different type of picture just because of the way
Yes.
the physics works.
Yeah.
So it's still a trade-off in that sense, but obviously none of these games are super photography. They're not photography games, right? They're photo games, for lack of a better, you know what I mean? Like they're not trying to do the things where you have all this control or you're thinking about all these things. So I think they live in a good space, but I do think that, yeah, if this game was on rails, but you like, because the path was pretty much, path was on rails, like except for that one time I got lost because I didn't realize the path was a loop to another path because I got distracted, and I'm bad at video games. Except for that moment, it was very obvious what I was supposed to do, and that's actually why I was like, oh, I missed a bug near the end, because I was like, I'm sure I've hit everything, but also my one complaint, which maybe I shouldn't have because I missed a thing, was when you're in photo mode and you're zooming, looking around, it'll just say new in the middle, or so if you see something you've already seen, it says the full name of the thing, which I like. But if you haven't taken a picture thing, it says new, and you can literally just like pixel hunt, essentially, just like, oh, it says new, take a picture. And a couple times I'm like, it says new, I have no idea what's there, took a picture. It still says new, took a picture. And it turns out that behind a plant was another plant and also a bug that sometimes was looping through, but they were not in the picture at all. Like
Right.
the only way I figured it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only way I figured it out was because I was like, okay, I want to know what this thing is. And I'm like, oh, I didn't take a picture of the lily pad in the last place. It was the lily pad. I know because now it's telling me lily pad on the label. And then it was this thing that I didn't see because it's like the bug's loop was just wider than I waited for. Then later on, I'm like, oh, what's that thing? It's new. And it's like, oh, you already have it. I'm like, oh, that was the thing that I accidentally took a picture of. But I had these 3 pictures of the plant, where the one picture was of the plant, and 2 of and the following pictures were of the things behind the plant. And I think, again, I understand it for difficulty reasons, like you want to be able to just hunt, but I wish these, like, it would be kind of cool if you could flip both of those options. The one of the I'm labeling what you see, and the for like pure aesthetic reasons if someone doesn't want it, but more importantly the new flag, because then it would be like, then I think it would be not having the depth of photography would be less of a hindrance, because it would become much more of a trying to find the things game.
Yeah, and you'd also use your book a little bit more as well, wouldn't you? To be like, what have I seen? What is in this picture that I, where I can see that.
Or like
there's a bat over there. Is that a bat that I've captured before? Yes.
Yeah. How many bats have I had? Yeah. So it just, and I think that would be a thing you could easily do. It would be to flip those. But yeah, that's probably enough on Beasts of Maravilla Island, or whatever it's called.
I think the last time, well, since our Pokemon Snap discussion, I think since then, Umurangi Generation came out on Switch, I think, and which seems more like it's into that, like kind of, more photography based. It's not apps or anything like that. And And
I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I guess what I want to say is I want the gameplay to just be snapshots
Mhm.
for simplicity, but I'd love if you had control over the camera.
yeah,
That would be a
think that
nice
might be
balance
handy.
of them. Yeah, I definitely have to take a look.
And then there's Alba, which I think came to most things recently, which is just not even no photography stuff there. It's a very nice, pleasant.
Yeah,
game.
just again a cataloging game, and actually
Yeah.
one of the games that stuck out to me from E3 was a similar sort of game as well. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Who's ready for another beer?
I'll be by the time you guys are.
That's what I was going to say.
have...
By the time we go around the horn, I will be.
Well, why don't you
second
start,
then.
Ben? Lucy, I've got this. So if you want to go second or third, let me know.
Might be.
I'll go second.
I am going to drink a beer from Track. It is called Broken Clouds. It's one of their gold top double IPAs. Oh, gold cans.
Oh.
It has got Citra, Galaxy, and Rakau in it. 8.5%. Zero flavour.
What was the last one? Sorry. What was the last one?
Rakau.
Might be a new one for me, you know.
Rakau.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
No qualms about the pronunciation. I just don't think I've ever seen that one before.
Yeah. It's also got like barley oats
from New Zealand.
This has got lactose in as well. Okay. Fair enough. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, its characteristics are passion fruit, tropical fruit, and its aromas are described as the whole orchard, and high on the quality of bitterness, and the dominant fruitness is fresh stone fruit, such as apricot.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I'm
say?
more interested to find out why it's got lactose in this.
Oh, interesting.
Real interesting.
It's a daughter of Czech Saz hops.
Those are usually in like, well, you check.
Yeah.
We'll find we've probably had this hop before, but when it wasn't named, when it was like hop 5872 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to come to everybody else because I poured and it's just exploded in my glass. So, Aadil, we will come to you next.
I have this beer. It is from Siren. It is the Shattered Dream Nitro. It's an Imperial Breakfast Stout. So it's one of the Siren's Nitros, which the last one I had was in a 360 can.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've seen like a full 440. 440 Nitro. I'm not gonna pour it on screen because I think I'll fuck it up because you're supposed to just like pound it, and every time I pour a foot above the table, I get it wrong. It's 9.6%.
Nice. Oh wow.
Shattered Dream is the scaled-up version of our award-winning flagship stout, Broken Dream. In addition to its imperial strength and generous espresso hit, we've also added cacao nibs and vanilla to make this beer even more luxurious than the much-loved original. This version is nitrogenated, meaning it pours thick and drinks smooth, an intensely indulgent and unctuous treat. Pour hard and fast for the full cascade effect. It says it in caps. And it has lactose and then hops. So I'm joining the lactose train.
Yeah. Nice. Everybody's on it.
Cool. Everybody, Lucy? Are you
Not
on
me.
the lactose train?
No.
What are you kicking into next?
I'm still staying in New York. I've killed my husband. I'm there now, living my new life.
Perfect. Drinking
all the nice New York beers. This is from Equilibrium. This one's called Linear Phase. It's an 8.5% DIPA. It's 1 pint, and it's a collaboration with Ober Creek Brewing Company. There's some coordinates that I actually really want to look up online. It says latitude and longitude, but I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just their brewery and where they're
it just
based.
locates them.
Yeah. It's all their beers are math based. There's no flavor text. So yeah, that's it. 8.5% DIPA linear phase.
Nice, perfect. We'll see how it stacks up against this 8.5% DIPA as well from Track. So Broken Clouds, very, very thick looking. It's like a solid colour. The head has dissipated, but when I refilled my glass, it frothed back up a little bit. But again, coming through maybe a little bit more pale on the camera than it does in person. Big nose. More ripe melon, I think, on the nose. Maybe a little bit sort of, maybe a little mango-y, a little stone fruit in there.
That must be the Racao.
So it's definitely this combination of hops is definitely giving me that sort of more stewed sort of flavour. You know, all of those different kind of tropical fruits and those stone fruits all kind of smashing together to give a bit more of an earthy flavour to it. It absolutely has that kind of more deep stewed fruits kind of earthy tone in there to it. And when you go back to the nose, you definitely get that on the nose as well. So it's sort of like everything in this is incredibly ripe. It is definitely melon, like honeydew melon with a softness. So those stone fruits as well. Saying about maybe Racao had that sort of apricot, that stone fruit to it. There's definitely something in there with a bit of a softness too. But on the finish, it kind of dials up that, or everything else fades away quite quickly, and that earthiness sticks around, and it turns a little bit more bitter, not massively, but a little bit more bitter. So the lasting flavour is this very bitter, earthy note, which isn't unpleasant, but it isn't the most pleasant note that I've had from the beer. It's not the one that I think should be sticking around.
I see.
So it kind of sours the flavour a little bit. That is then the sort of the finishing note. We'll see if how my palate adjusts to it after the coconut kind of ruins everything really. But we'll see if it changes at all. If anything lingers a little bit more. But it definitely edges more towards that earthy kind of DIPA side of things. So stewed sort of fruits, a little bit oniony than the, what we were talking about with Dea previously, where I had a beer from Dea and it was very much this kind of flavour. But it's the other sweeter tropical juice bomb flavours that I prefer at least.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it adapts or possibly changes on my palate. But Aadil, I saw you pour.
Yeah.
So we'll come to you.
Had the lovely cascading effect, and then now it's left me a nice, clear 1-inch bit of impenetrable head. Nice large bubbles. You can kind of see it's a little more microfoamy. I'm sorry, I'm using espresso terms, given the beer.
You're a Renaissance man. You know about everything. Coffee, photography, beer, games, life.
No, I don't know that.
Canada,
I don't know
Bristol.
Oh dear.
Philosophy. I should mention that one.
Yeah, fair. I can't argue with that one. On the nose, I'm getting the cacao and a bit of vanilla and sweetness, which is really nice. The vanilla's just subtle enough. Make it just bring the sweetness and the cacao and the coffee closer together.
Mm-hmm.
I had a suspicion this first sip would be weird, having just recently finished a tropically triple IPA, because this tasted like, what if I poured coffee in the cup I used to drink the mango juice for breakfast? So give me a second.
Less washing up.
You might need
Yeah.
it. It just tastes like a black IPA now. Bit of fruitiness in there.
So even with that bit of fruitiness, which I doubt is part of this particular beer, I'm still getting the coffee is coming out pretty strong. It's really well balanced with the sweetness, probably from the lactose, and then the added vanilla, which isn't necessarily sweet, but brings out sweet flavors. But what I really like is these roasted malty notes that are just sitting at the bottom and working really well with the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the malty notes are burnt, but the coffee notes aren't.
Okay, nice.
Which is really nice because like burnt coffee is like a thing it's not quite the thing you get easily here in the UK, but like burnt coffee, like because of like drip coffee and percolators and diners especially, where they sit on the warmer for too long and the coffee burns. The only way you get that here is if someone like puts too high temperature water through like an espresso too much and you have like a burnt Americano, which is a little different. Sorry, now I'm being coffee puns, and this is the beer puns podcast.
I enjoy it because I know nothing about coffee, so this is fascinating to me.
But yeah, so those burnt coffee notes aren't great. Like burnt coffee is like a little too acrid, and this is like those, for lack of a better term, round burnt malty notes. Like it's reminiscent to coffee. It's got like a notion of burntness, but it's just this like, these sort of the burnt malty notes you get in stouts. But it's tempered by this very sweet, the sweet notes that's where the coffee actually is sitting. And so I think it's bridging that like artificial alcohol and vanilla at the top and burnt notes at the bottom, but you have this like this coffee infused middle ground that isn't too sweet, isn't too burnt, but it brings together, and it's just very reminiscent of like a good solid strong cup of joe with milk, or actually what it might be is it's like a white Americano, or actually sorry, there's a type of coffee called a shot in the dark or a high test, which is drip coffee with a shot of espresso in it. I only ever drank it black, but I think what this is reminding me of is if you had like put a splash of milk in it, because it has the coffee flavor. It reminds me of like just filter coffee. The burnt flavor reminds me of like a strong espresso, and then it's got this milky sweetness to it, which is as if you had like added milk and sugar to this combination of both the espresso and the coffee.
Yep.
Which I'm guessing what's why they went what they were going for with the Imperial Breakfast Stout. I do think I'm pretty sure I've had the Broken Dream. In fact, did I have that a few weeks ago, or was that a different Siren?
No, you had Shattered something a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Anyway, this I really like because it's, I think without the extra cacao nibs and vanilla they were bragging about on the tin, I think this would be a little flatter. And I'm liking the interplay. I'm liking that I'm getting more coffee taste and vanilla taste, which are clearly like on the opposite ends of the rest of the beer. Like they're clearly influencing sort of from the top and the bottom, and they're making a well-rounded beer versus a like, oh, coffee beer or whatever, or like burnt mess for lack of a better term. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this.
Good.
And even with all the notions of sweetness that I was talking about, it could be 6%, it could be 9.6%. It's in fact 9.6%.
Perfect.
But like you could easily mistake this for lighter because just how well the sweetness and the vanilla and everything is stitched to the coffee and together.
Yeah.
So yeah, really tasty beer.
Nice.
I really like their like nitro range and all the ones that they've had there. Don't think I've had them since they've stopped bottling though, because yeah, it's weird seeing it in a 440ml can. I think the only ones that I had were like I think there was like affogato stouts and stuff like that. But these beers seem like they are tailor made for you who knows about coffee. I just drink them and it's like, oh, this is nice. I don't know anything. I don't know which coffee it is. I don't even know.
I mean, out from the
I find that
fair,
really interesting.
Yeah, but like to be fair, like in a high end coffee, you do get similar things like plummy berry notes or more burnt or toffee notes. And actually, the coffee here is more coffee-ish because I think there's just too much going on to notice whatever quality coffee is going in, which is usually the case. But like, it's clearly good coffee, which you can tell. Basically, I think coffee beers, when there's really cheap coffee, you're like, oh, this is like a coffee. And when it's not, you're like, this is really well rounded. And if they've chosen the right one for everything else, then it's going to taste really good. But I can never pick. Like, I can have a tasty coffee and pick notes out of it. I can't pick the tasty coffee when infused in beer's notes, if that makes sense. Yes. I can just tell whether it's like well matched.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway,
absolutely. Let's go.
Nice. Lucy, we'll come back to you then.
Yeah, I have already tucked into this because just pouring it's got such a good smell.
It's equilibrium. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just pour it
amazing
all over
smell.
yourself instant. Don't even put it on. Just...
I wish. I want a fountain that I can just run into. Just like 1,000 gallons of equilibrium an hour. That's what I'd do if I won the lottery. Just saying. Yeah. Beautiful beer. Completely opaque. Light yellowish dark straw color. Wonderful like foamy head. And yeah, it just smells so good. When you pour this, you smell it. It's like you're in for a good time, you know. And it's just like I was gonna try and be patient. It's like really interesting what Aadil's saying, but this beer is like, 10 centimeters away from my nose. I need to drink it, and it smells incredible.
Amazing.
And it tastes incredible. And it tastes like every other equilibrium beer that I've had. I need to like line these up and like just see what the actual difference is, because I cannot distinguish it because they all taste so good. Maybe that's a negative for some people, that it's like a lot of these beers that they do taste the same. It has been week to week between I've had them, but just they all taste the same. But it tastes good, and I will never get tired of this flavor. I'll never get tired of this like softness and the great water quality, the tons of fruit. I won't get sick. So
that's fair.
I don't care if they all taste the same. It's like they may all just be the same can with just different printed labels on it, and I wouldn't care.
Same beer every day. It would make it a lot cheaper. Just brew the same thing constantly.
I mean, I'm just going to find which one that is cheapest and just buy that one then. For the rest of the time, it's like
it's fair.
The rest taste the same. They all taste good. It's just, I would say more, but I can't, because it's like I'm just reiterating myself every week at this point. They all taste the same to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I don't know what actually delineates them. I mean, it's called linear phase. Just another phase of the same linear beer, isn't it? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what it is, right?
Yeah, but it tastes fantastic. I don't know. Maybe I should look into like like flavor text or props they use. Maybe I should go on their site one time and see if they have any more information about the different, I don't know, brewing processes or what hops are in each beer. But as I say, they've got a style. You know, it's like how you can tell like a Daya beer or
Like a
a
Wiper and
Verdant
True.
beer, yeah, or a Wiper and True, or an Arbor or something like that. But even those have like fluctuations, different, different styles. I think maybe I have been picking similar styles. IPAs, triple IPAs, double IPAs. As Ben said, that's usually what we get from the US. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I expect from an Equilibrium beer. They're very consistent. I'll give them that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, every time I go to the bottle shop, I think I need to find some American beers, especially Equilibrium, because you've nailed them the last sort of few weeks. So there's lots of other sort of breweries that we come across as well from the states that we get over here, New York breweries and stuff. So definitely worth a look if you don't venture that way and pay that little bit extra for your kind of for your beers. So
I've definitely noticed more
it.
people stocking them, for sure. So it does seem like they're making the journey over here. But Left Field Beer, give them a shout out. They're based in Birmingham, but you can get national delivery over a certain amount, and they have a lot. They import a lot of beers that you don't usually see most bottle shops. So
nice.
Good. I know. I don't have the name of it, but I know previous guest Stephen. His points of brew almost everywhere on the socials. I know he was shouting out his brother has started importing American beers and has started a business doing that as well. I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry, Stephen, I can't shout it out because I don't know what it's called, but I know it exists. So go to Points of Brew and you might find some kind of link there if you want to mail order in stuff. And there's also it's interesting to see how these things are kind of developing as well, because there's something like an online delivery service as well called Suds and Soda, I think, who are selling at the moment Ardois Theory, which was one of my favourite breweries from last year, the few beers that I'd had from them. They're almost, I think they'd mentioned that they're exclusively selling that brewery here in the UK, whether that's whether it's online only or not bottle shops necessarily, but maybe online only. But they were doing sort of 4-packs quite cheaply and those sorts of things. So interesting to see how this is all sort of changing, and the import game is now being played massively. People are wanting parts of that and saying, well, I can get you KCBC or something like that in, and that would be because even the little news agents that's a 5-minute drive from my house
Bristol,
has a few American breweries in it.
What?
Which ones?
So KCBC are in there.
Seeing them crop up some morning.
I think that might be the only one that I remember.
For a news agent around the corner.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And so I mean, they started stocking Whiplash a few weeks back. They've started stocking Vault City as well. They're just building up.
That's not a fucking news agent. That's a tiny bottle shop. I'm on Lucy's side now. Apparently, everything's a bottle shop in this damn town. I mean,
it is. It's Bristol, man.
So what I forgot to say is both my beers are from the closest corner shop to my house.
I'm just leaving now. Bye.
Because I mentioned like 2 weeks ago that like I grabbed stuff from them, and there was like I can't remember the name of them, the creative something with it, not creative, but the brand we hadn't heard of. They had the weird crow on the can.
Oh yeah.
I apologize. I did
Crocan.
didn't mean to forget
Beak
Crocan.
Brewery.
It wasn't Beak. I can look
Before.
back. I can look back.
But
Can I look back? No.
Hark the Raven.
How far back was it?
it was last weekend. I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Yeah. What did I have last week?
Yeah, because we're talking
Yo,
about
boy.
like clever
Oh
birds.
yes,
and, like,
yes. You had
Yeah.
last week. You had Siren, Scattered Light, and Little Critters, King Crow.
Little Critters.
Mm.
Yeah. So Little Critters was a brewery I hadn't really seen before. But they stocked them, and they stocked Buxton, and they stocked Siren, and they've always stocked some Arbor and some Wiper and True. But it was like, oh, you're just the place down the street, and like, I knew I could get Arbor, Wiper and True, and to be honest, like the last time I had Wiper and True on the podcast was definitely a oh shit, I need to buy a beer. Oh, they've got Wiper and True. But they have other breweries as well. Like they've got probably, I would say, 6 actual craft breweries and like 12 different varieties of beer. But like some of them are just like your Stellas and your Carlsbergs.
Sure.
Probably more than 12. Probably more like 15. But like it's just really interesting to see how true Lucy's statement is. You know, I laughed the first time Lucy said, "Oh yeah, there's craft beer everywhere in that town." And sure, it doesn't rain craft beer, and like the roads aren't literally paved with craft beer. But name a newsagent, it's got at least one craft brewery in there.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first moved back here in 2016. And it was like, yeah, Bottles and Books was just opening, or maybe hadn't opened yet, and like Corks and Cotton was really good, and that was like my mainstay. I also lived near there and worked near there, and now it's like there isn't a compelling reason to trek to a specific bottle shop if what you're looking for is just some good craft beer,
Yes.
including stuff you might not have had, like even Redland stores who I've shouted out before because like they now have a wall of craft beer. They're just a tiny convenience store who've decided that it's like worth using most of their cooler space for craft beer. Like they've got a couple like store coolers which are like wine and like cheap beer or whatever, but then their main like grab it out of the cooler without non-doored stuff on the way to the till, just craft beer.
But I think it's grown, right? So a lot of newsagents will have maybe got 1 or 2 of these in, and they'll be more than likely for anywhere in the country, local breweries, and they've decided we need some more local, like craft beer's a thing, right? We need some local breweries. We got some beers, and we'll get them cheap because they can be delivered from around the corner, sort of thing. If people buy them, they will get more in. This is the thing. Like the guy right round the corner. When I went in, I'm like, hey, I saw you have a Wiper and True delivery. And he was like, I haven't put them on the shelf yet. I've got a load of Arbor, though. I'm like, perfect. I'll buy a load of Arbor. Brilliant. I'll come back in a couple of days and I'll buy some Wiper and True. And then he was like, oh, I've been chatting to Lost and Grounded. I'm gonna get those in as well. Brilliant. Great. I'll come in and I'll buy some beers from Lost and Grounded. The next time, hopefully, once I bought some beers from Lost and Grounded, I'll say, have you heard about Good Chemistry? I'll get some Good Chemistry beers in there. Have you heard about Left-Handed Giant? I'll get some Left-Handed Giant beers in there.
Have you heard about Equilibrium and Canteen?
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Yeah.
Just build them up.
Yeah.
Get them there. They'll follow. And they'll dedicate some shelf space to that £30 bottle of beer that only 1 in every 400 customers will buy.
Yeah. Oh, I went to Cottridge Wines last week before. Yeah, first time since lockdown began. It was good. It was just like so much choice. Not used to so much choice, and it's all there. Oh,
What's that, like 18 months?
Yeah, almost. The guy then said it's like, you haven't been here since lockdown starting. I was like, no, I haven't. You've probably noticed a few zeros off your annual turnover. That's probably why. Yeah, good. good going back.
It's brilliant. He's,
Yeah.
where have you been? We've had to get rid of staff because you haven't been coming in.
We had to lay off 6 people. Couldn't put my kids through university. Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Lucy,
Mm.
we've chatted about kind of your beer, so we're ready to jump into sort of our E3 moments. I've got quite a few, and I
can
feel
have
like
the floor.
I was going to say, I feel like me launching into this will just be the next like 20 minutes of me being like this and this and this and this and this and this.
Go for it,
So
mate. Go for
I
it.
thought perhaps I'd come to both of you first, just to
Mhm.
see if you had any kind of games which stuck out to you, just in case they're on my list. And
Oh, I mean, I have some, but
So-
I'm happy, having talked before, to let you have some floor.
Okay.
But if you, so I guess what I'm trying to say, despite the fact this is now using the time that we were trying to save, is I've got probably 5 or 6 things
Okay.
I've thought about.
Mhm.
But
You two have the floor. Look,
do you,
All right.
she's there.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm excited for.
Dread.
She turned
I
up
don't-
today.
Just pure.
I didn't
dread.
realize there was a Last of Us 3. Is that what we were gesturing at? I don't get it.
Me and Ben talked about it earlier this week.
We
It's
did
coming.
actually. Yes.
Yeah, we revealed it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Metroid, new Metroid. I'm done.
how about
Okay.
I mentioned a thing. I'll go really quick. Not like the really quick of the camera game that I said was going to be really quick, and then it was like 25 minutes. So one of the games I've never played, but was always interested in because I love the genre, is Advance Wars.
Yeah.
And 1 and 2 are rebooted on Switch,
Yeah.
which seems like
Great
it's a
to see.
ground up reboot, but it seems like they're trying to not change the mechanics like functionally,
Yes.
just make it prettier. And that excites me because I haven't really delved in SRPGs and since Into the Breach, which even Lucy liked because it's secretly a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And it made me think, oh, I never really finished Into the Breach. Maybe I'll play more Into the Breach, which is great. Which for me is the biggest compliment a trailer can have is, oh, that reminds me of a game that I didn't finish, and now because I'm excited about this game, I'll go play that other game again. Like I think that just says a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was glad to see that coming back. I hope this means that enough people buy it and they make a new one because that's so many people have just been clamoring for a new.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the backdoor pilot sort of move. I think
Absolutely.
they're doing.
They're
let's hope so.
testing the waters with that to see if there's enough pull for another game.
Yeah, because there was that Wargroove game that people seem to
yes.
like. That was
Yeah,
kind
that
of
was that. Was that last year?
Yes.
I was last.
Wasn't
Year
2 years
before?
ago?
2 years
Yeah,
ago?
year before
Chucklefish,
maybe.
I think. Yeah.
It might have been one of those things where it was 2 years ago on a platform and last year on all the other platforms.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
I mean, the last year is just
I mean, what does last year
thrown out the
mean?
window, isn't it? So,
Last year means anywhere between 2018 June and today. If I say
Agreed.
last year, that's the range I'm saying.
Agreed.
Part of that is I'm getting old and I can't figure things out, and then the pandemic happened.
what are games?
Yeah, I will say that Battlefield 2042, if I have people like Ben who are available to play, I'll want to play that because that looks like finally they're just, it doesn't matter. I want it dumb. I want it so dumb. I wanted the dumbest game ever. This looks like a dumb game. Like the trailer showing off like there were several moments of the trailer where I was like, okay, I don't even know if I can pull this off in a game, but if you can attempt to pull this off, I'm all here for it. Like the fact that the tanks are high speed because future, but also you can. There's in the trailer. There's a moment. Please watch this if you haven't.
I need to watch it. I haven't watched it. So.
Oh, there's a moment where there's 2 jets dogfighting, and a dude ejects out of his jet and has a bazooka because you could fit that in the cockpit of a jet, and shoots the other plane with the bazooka, and then lands on the jet and climbs in. And I'm like, I know that's not going to be actually possible, but if this is the type of shit you are selling,
Hang on. They included that in the trailer because that is something someone had done in Battlefield 4, I think.
Really?
Someone had
Is that the
actually
Levolution
done
one?
that.
Oh.
So they had built then that into the trailer. There's a very famous clip of someone doing that, of jumping out of their
I'm gonna have to
plane,
look at this clip.
exploding the other plane with their bazooka, and then jumping back into said plane. A player has
I think
done
I
that,
might
so-
have even seen that, yeah.
So they put that
Oh,
in the
I don't.
trailer.
I missed
Perfect.
that.
Battlefield.
Okay, but yeah,
Battlefield with Aadil crossed off my list.
So that's like, if I can't play with Ben or friends, but mostly Ben, we are Battlefield boys. Like, I'm sorry, but like we just spent so much time when Evelyn was new.
Yes.
Playing Battlefield. I'm excited because this seems like a really cool. I like going to the future. I like that it's not just jump 3 times, small map, I guess is the big thing. This doesn't seem to be jumpy, shooty, twitch.
Yeah, I see a zip line. This looks fun.
Yeah, it looks
fun.
very, very dumb. And like dumb in the sense of there's a lot of stupid things you can do.
Sandstorm.
And like, yeah, the tornado storm, like I don't even know what that means. Is that a weapon you can call down, a la like Unreal? Remember the old Unreal tournaments with the satellite weapon? Like, is the storm on demand?
Yeah.
I don't know. The trailer just made me think, oh, good. There's this thin tether of reality that the games seem to think they need, and they've kind of cut it and then added a thread of a tether. Because there's still some notion of it's not like completely unbounded. That's great.
Because
really looking forward to that.
Battlefield games seem quite po-faced the last couple, going from probably like 3 up till now. And I enjoyed Battlefield 1, the more serious one tone. But
yeah,
I feel like they were always chasing that reality in terms of how the guns feel and how it looks. And then that translated into the story mode. But now they don't even have a story mode. They don't even have to have that kind of dynamic. They just can go crazy. It just seems like
absolutely
the old Battlefield that people love. So
what was it?
That looks stupid in a great way.
2042?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dumb game.
Yeah.
Perfect.
1942. I don't know. Yeah, so many Battlefield games.
I really like that it's 2042 versus 1942. Like, it's a nice little like, oh, you guys are get it. I get it. I see what you're doing.
Good for them. So it's good.
Yeah. Also, I have on my list a sequel to this small franchise by some indie company called Nintendo. Breathing Wildly, I think it's called. The sequel to Breathing Wildly.
Whoa, the weapon durability game. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. The weapon durability game for babies who hunt little things. It's the Find 300 Things game, right?
It was like 600, but yeah.
Oh, was it 600? Yeah.
Or it might be 900.
I was like, I fucked it up because I could not remember because I was never gonna find them.
I
am kind of.
I don't know.
I'm pretty stoked for Breath of the Wild 2, and I've never finished Breath of the Wild 1. I really liked the world. It reminded me that the reason I left was like personal reasons. Like, it just sometimes life gets in the way and you stop on one of these longer games and you just never go back. But everything I liked Breath of the Wild. I'm pretty sure I ranked it in the year it came out.
I don't think I did.
You ranked it the year after, I think, is what you did, didn't you?
No. I think that was Hollow Knight. No,
that's probably.
I have my qualms with that game.
Yes.
But it's the game I always. It's something that stuck with me because no other game, probably in like the last 20 years, probably since like a GTA game, that I felt that like sense of exploration. That is what I loved about Breath of the Wild. And my only concern with Breath of the Wild 2 is that they're going to be using a lot of that world, just maybe inverted, Well, I don't think they will, but it's a concern that I have, probably unfounded. But
yeah, I was going to say, I think the key to going to the sky and having a sky kingdom, etc., that you just conveniently missed throughout the first game, I think is exactly how they can maintain novelty and exploration while keeping the same world.
I want that,
but
yeah.
do you need to,
Otherwise, yeah, you're right. Like that's why I ranked it, even though I didn't finish the game, because what makes that game special isn't beating Ganon at the end.
No, because that's a bad boss fight, and most of
Yeah.
the boss fights are bad. The biggest temples are bad. The story's bad. It's that sense of wonderment and the exploration, which is, second to none.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing, yeah. And
Mhm.
so I'm excited because they've figured out how to keep the world such that you can have some sense of familiarity if you played it a bunch, which
Mhm.
by the time it comes out, that whole anything on the ground will be new to me again anyways.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I like that they've thought of how to keep it fresh because they've recognized that's like what made the game special.
Mhm.
I'm really curious how they will. You can't just have your fucking leaf, right? Like you've got to have something, some other mode of flight, but
Well,
it
he's
can't
got
just be
like
Superman.
cloud?
he can phase through stuff now. He's basically Flubber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super. So I am. You're right, but like I'm interested in the like kind of the Metroidvania like access that Zelda sometimes has, and like sure, like I'm sure halfway through the game you unlock the phasing through certain types of stone
Yeah.
thing, and that'll be like exploration. This is why I'm interested in it, not just because it's just higher. Like it's because they've shown the other powers and the things they're showing off are also seem to be ways you could re-explore,
Mhm.
and I'm hoping that's what it's designed around.
Okay.
Let me look at my list.
I'm just gonna nip to the loo, guys.
Sure.
So
It's fine. I'm
talk about
gonna
Dragon
mention.
Ball or something.
I'm
Final
talking about a
Fantasy.
Bethesda game, so
Oh, I'm out. Yeah, bye.
yeah,
I'm back in a second.
yeah.
It's on Game Pass. I'm fine.
So I am mildly interested in Starfield.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if it will like by the time it comes out if I'll get it, but I think it's I like space more than I like I never finished or even got that far into Skyrim. Even though I like fantasy games, like the open world fantasy games for some reason don't grab me as much as open world sci-fi does.
Yeah.
And so like it's just like look, this will be a janky broken game. We know that because it's from Bethesda. But I'll probably have more patience for it because like I do have I vibe more with the sci-fi in the sprawling open world lack of narrative. Like I think actually that's what it is I've just figured this out. What I like about sci-fi games is that notion. It's because we were just talking about Breath of the Wild. Is the notion of exploration, etc. Which means the open world appeals more to me in the sci-fi sense because I'm just like looking. But what I like about fantasy settings is actually books I've read, which are more narrative driven, which is why I don't care if there's an open world. I care about you giving me an interesting story, and I realize how like wired I've been on the two. That like sci-fi to me is about the open expanse of the universe and charting your way through, and so I'm gonna put up with I think it's the same reason why I've played more RTS sci-fi games than never really got into like I played a little Warcraft 3 because friends did, but I didn't like love it. But I've played a bunch of these like Stellaris type games, and it's because the whole point of that is like expand into the universe, and that's what I like about the notion of sci-fi and how big the universe is. It's one of the reasons why I pre-ordered No Man's Sky, which is a game that exists.
You were one of those.
I got No Man's Sky 3 days early.
Yeah.
Oh, because
just because
the
retailer broke street date. Like, I had it before that initial patch was put in. I actually preferred No Man's Sky pre-patch to the then day one patch version.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
So that's why I think I'm kind of stoked for Starfield in a way that I've never really been like, oh, what's the like whatever the next Skyrim's supposed to be, Elder Scrolls 19 or whatever they're at. I can't tell because they just keep releasing Skyrim, so I just assume it's incrementing.
Skyrim, the newest release is the Elder Scrolls 45. So yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Elder Scrolls 45, Skyrim on a fridge.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect Game Pass game for me because like Skyrim
Yeah.
got me in a way like it shouldn't have. I don't like RPGs. I don't like hype usually, but that got me. So, and space games definitely don't get me. So it's got perfect Game Pass game. Maybe I'll enjoy it.
I've only got a couple more.
Cool.
I think.
Roll through.
Okay. Stranger in Paradise: Final Fantasy Origin by Team Ninja.
Oh.
What a dumb-looking, fun, stupid, dumb game.
I don't even know. I need to know what it is. That's
If
just
you've got a
perfect.
PS5, you can play a demo right now.
Oh man.
Oh, is that the one with the corrupted saves?
Yes, and that it won't work. You can download the demo.
Wait, what?
You can't play it. It's been broken. A broken demo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For Stranger
okay.
what is it? Stranger of Paradise?
Stranger in Paradise,
In
Final
Paradise.
Fantasy Origin.
Mm.
I mean, I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy bullshit, and this seems like the weirdest type of Final Fantasy bullshit.
In the trailer, he says the word chaos about 4,000 times. I'm here to fight
so-
chaos. I woke up to fight chaos. Everything's about chaos. I'm here to do chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos things
Is
are
that the
happening. I'm
boss
here
or
to fight
something?
chaos.
Oh, without getting into
and
it.
in fact, the boss is Garland.
Yeah, so it is FF1 from the point of view of one of the Warriors of Light who seems to be having a mental breakdown,
Yes.
I guess.
And then Garland turns around and goes, "Oh yes, you're here to fight chaos. I am chaos." Like, it was nuts. It is nuts. Final
It
Fantasy
looks
is
so
nuts.
stupid. Yeah.
It's
It's an ARPG in Final Fantasy 1, I think. But also it's made by Team Ninja, so like it's going to be an actually good action part of the RPG, and God knows what the plot is. I think it's going to be stupid.
Well, yes.
But yeah, I haven't played a good ARPG in a while. I trust Team Ninja for obvious reasons, and I'm just, I'm just a sucker for Final Fantasy shit, and like between Final Fantasy shit and Team Ninja's pedigree, and the fact that the trailer made no sense, it's like, oh, I think the worst parts of both of you have combined to this very dumb game, and I'm here for it. And you can put that on the box art.
It was. I think that's the name of this podcast. The weird, stupid Final Fantasy, stupid, weird shit. Or whatever.
Yeah.
whatever he said.
I think after this like mind taxing year, I'm just here for all the dumb games.
Yeah.
Having said that, because I said I'd roll through, Trek to Yomi was on the Devolver Digital Showcase.
The Kurosawa one. Yeah.
Yeah, like a black and white, side-scrolly, film grainy. I don't even actually know if it's side-scrolly, but it's very much like wide scope camera. You're like Kurosawa style battling in black and white. A lot of silhouetting in the trailer. Some back and forth where you fight one guy, then another guy, then another guy, but it very much feels like individually paced battles, even if there's people in the backgrounds, like very much aping samurai movies, where you never get overwhelmed by numbers, because like you get overwhelmed by like attrition in the sense of the protagonist has to fight this guy, then the other guy, then this guy, and they're slowly going to get tired, but they never get overwhelmed by there's 7 guys about to attack you, you're boned, because it's this classic movie one by one. It feels like that at least on the trailer, it's trying to mimic that. So people will just wait in the background. But it just looks pretty.
Yeah.
I'm super
Looks
interested.
promising.
Sorry?
Looks promising.
Yeah. And then Venba.
Yes, I've seen this one. Kick around.
Yeah.
This looks great.
This looks, so it's a narrative cooking adventure about an Indian mum who moves to Canada with her family in 1980s. Spoiler alert.
Nothing
That's
to
my
do.
origin story.
No.
This is your life. What's that?
My mom's a good cook. I don't know if she's like a cook to the degree of the Venba mom, but besides that, it's got this really gorgeous sort of. I don't know how to describe the art style. It's very hand drawn, kind of color blocky. So the hair is very big, but just one shade with some slight outlines. The backgrounds are mostly just like single color blocks. But yeah, the trailer just got me even before I realized that the time period was like literally personally important.
I've known
it just
about this
looks
game
gorgeous.
for a while, and I don't know, just pushing it across your desk. So apologies, because I've seen
I mean,
it looks fantastic. I can't. This is like one of my most anticipated games.
yeah,
So.
it looks really cool, and I hadn't heard hide nor tail about it, and now I'm like super pumped, like to the point where it also looks simple enough that I can be like, hey, like I've got family group chats. I'm like, if this works, I'm just like, hey guys, play this, because I know like I've got a bunch of cousins, and I think like just based on the trailer, I'm like, I know like more than half of them would probably be game to try this type of thing out because of just its art style, and it feel like, again, it's hard to tell because I haven't seen it, like played it, but it seems accessible, and the storyline is very much applicable to all of us. I'm super pumped for it. I had no idea until I was like going through E3 roundup articles, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And honestly, it's the first time I've felt like, oh, this is what representation means.
Yeah.
And I'm not even that close. Like the characters are still pretty far off from me in my life, but it's like, oh, it's a mom who moved to Canada in the 80s, and there's a child, and the mom is talking about cooking.
Yeah.
I've had that scene in my life before. That's enough. That's never happened before, like in this sense. Like,
I feel bad.
So,
I didn't think of you when I was gaming
okay.
originally. But yeah, it looks like, as you say, very accessible, very readable. Something like Florence. It seems like it'll have that kind of really effective story. So yeah,
brilliant.
Because turns out second generation immigrants, they like staying in touch with our food or our native culture. So, and yeah, you never. There's so many cooking games now.
Yes.
Just like that game is like Soup Pot and
Soup Pot.
Yeah.
Almost like people realize that
Mm.
cooking is very different in different cultures, and presenting cooking as different via those cultures means a new game.
Yeah.
I don't mean this like in a bad way, right?
No,
like I'm just saying, like,
absolutely.
I just think that's like something to do with the times as well. It's like foreign food is no longer in quote foreign. It's just like what everybody eats because we've become.
Completely.
Most places are multicultural now. So.
Yeah. And that was my brief list, I think.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I think there was another one, but I can't find it, so it's fine.
Okay. I will run through mine very, very swiftly. There's two games which are that kind of like AAA pedigree, which I'm looking forward to. The first one's a Plague Tale Requiem.
Yes.
Wait, which? Oh, Plague Tale.
I love Plague Tale Innocence. I'm well up for Requiem. All we got was a little cinematic trailer. That's fine. I love the Monsieur Hugo's relationship through that game, so I really want to see how that would progress and what kind of.
So you think it's something to progress on, like that kind of story? Was it? I didn't play much of it, so
I think so.
So.
So Hugo towards the end got more into his powers, so I would think that will come through more.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see the dynamic between the characters and how much that will kind of change, because Amicia was the character that you did everything with almost. It was almost like The Last of Us. So you're Joel through most of it, and then you're Ellie for a bit. In this, you were Amicia for most of it, and you were Hugo for a bit. And I think it would be interesting to see what they do with the second game and how the relationship develops, but also what they do sort of gameplay wise. And Hugo's the one with powers and can control things. Amicia is just a normal human within this world. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with that. And that trailer looked beautiful as well. And Plague Tale Innocence looked beautiful. The lighting in that game is phenomenal. So yeah, looking forward to that one.
Good stuff. Yeah.
The other one was Battlefield. That was the other kind of AAA game that I was looking forward to, but we won't kind of touch on that. So the other ones were all indie games, most of which I've been able to actually play demos of in the Steam Next Fest. So the one I haven't played a demo of is Somerville, which was shown at the Xbox.
What? That doesn't have a demo, does it?
I don't know. No, I haven't played a demo.
It can't.
I haven't played a demo.
There's no way.
It was part of the
It's
Xbox show.
There's no.
It just looks fantastic. It just screamed Kentucky Route Zero at me. The tone, the aesthetic, the style of that game, the idea that it's this family sort of sat on a sofa and then there's these crazy things also kind of happening, like that looks really, really good. I'm well up for Somerville.
Somerville would have been one of mine, yeah. Ex-Playdead dev, so obviously Insight comes to mind.
Yes.
War of the Worlds kind of thing. Yeah, I'm all in on.
This is new to me, actually.
Pass,
I missed it. I'm going to have to take a look at the trailer. And
there was a very small teaser trailer several years ago because Playdead, one of the... I don't know if he was executive producer. He basically left the studio. Playdead are making something else, and this was, the new studio's thing. Yeah, so I don't want to see any more of that. Like Inside,
you just want to play it?
It was yeah. I'm all in.
Perfect.
Cool.
Excellent. And so the ones I have been able to play are, and the ones that stuck out to me from E3, the ones that I've searched for to go and see, were Sable, Toem, Unbeatable, and Rogue 96.
Do you want to...
So,
just if a viewer hasn't looked into those,
I'll roll through all of them. So I think all of them were actually part of Day of the Devs stream, which is something that Tim Schafer and friends have done yearly during kind of E3, but shows a lot of more smaller indie kind of games. And Sable, I think, is my pick out of almost all of the games that I saw. Having now played the demo, the kind of the fluid movement in Sable is really good and actually kind of trumps the art style. You know, when you go into this game, you're like, this looks beautiful. There's so much detail in the way that this is drawn, but actually the way that the character moves and kind of floats between spaces feels really good. And I'm so up for progressing that story. Like the demo's maybe like 30 minutes, but it's an area, so you can still explore said area. You could spend more time in there if you wanted, just going around and do stuff. And it's the fluid motion of the character, it's the art style, but also there's these little sort of sound cues that you get as well, which just sound amazing. There's you can find these little floating kind of worms almost, and you go up to it, and when you do that, it turns into almost like a plant and then pops this egg out of the top of it. But the sounds are, like when you think of something like Akira, and it's like bloop, 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 but in like beautiful voices rather than my fucking awful noises. It sounds like that in a lot of the sort of the noises and the sound effects that are coming from it. Like, it's just such a fantastic little package for a game.
Are you? So I'm just like fast forwarding through trailers, etc., because this is new to me. How often are you on the little speeder bike versus walking in the demo?
In the demo,
obviously in the demo,
you use the speeder bike to get to a place, and you get off, and then you explore it on foot.
Okay, because the demo, so the teaser on Steam definitely made it seem like you were zipping around more than.
And it may be that out of that initial area. Expand. The areas are so big that you are spending more time kind of on the speeder bike. But at least in that initial area, you're jumping off of it to climb up into sort of like temples and spaces and things like that. Yeah,
that makes me more enthused because, like,
that
exploration theme. Now that's
you
what
like
I
pod
call
racing on like Tatooine, or is that the Desert Planet? I think that was
the
word a few. Yep. There you go.
I mean, I like that because exploration also like gets more nuanced when you are more static. Obviously, if you're on a thing, you can only go through tunnels, etc. There's no like stopping climbing, going into a room on the top of a
Yes.
peak or
Yeah.
whatever. It's what a great art style. I am going to download. I'm going to download this demo right away because you've already sold me on it.
And it's
on
they're available
Steam
for the week.
and-
Yeah, all the demos are available for the week. So.
And yeah, if you've got an Xbox, you can download some of them as well. It's on
Amazing.
Game Pass day one.
Oh,
I
is
don't know
it?
if
Oh,
it's
wow.
PC as well, but
Wow. Okay.
yeah, because I've known about Sable for a while. I've just been like, I've checked out of it. I'm just like, this looks like a really cool indie game. Probably not my kind of
Cup of tea, yeah.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't know what it was more so than that. It seemed very
actually think-
early when I've seen it.
UK dev as
hearing
well, I think.
Ben
Isn't it?
talk about it.
Shedworks a
Oh,
UK
wow.
developer.
Not sure, but yeah, like hearing you talk about it, Ben, and knowing that it's come to Game Pass day one, it's like I downloaded the demo, but I'm just happy to wait for it. To be honest, like
Yeah.
the art style alone would probably get me in anyway.
So I can look up Shedworks if you want to tell us about the next one on your list.
Yeah, I mean, I would, having just Googled Shedworks, and then one of the things that you Google coming up is an article on architecture.com through the RIBA saying when architecture and video games meet, an interview with Shedworks.
Oh.
Fuck? What? Architecture and video games? Done. That's all I need. It's
like it was made for you.
Yeah, that's... Oh, yeah, I've got this architecture.com video. I will read that as well. But anyway, what's the next one?
So there must be a UK, if they're collaborating with the RIBA, which is the Institute of Architects over here in the UK.
Okay.
So
they made a film.
So there, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, no, it doesn't matter.
Yes. So the next one was
Ben's
Toem.
game.
Toem was the game that I was alluding to earlier, which is all about taking photographs.
Which one? Sorry.
Toem. TOEM.
TOEM. Yeah.
And
Black and white.
Black and white.
Hidden folks looking game.
Yeah. And you walk around a space and you're cataloguing lots of things. There's animals to take little photos of, but as we were talking about with Beasts of was it Maravilla?
Maravilla Island.
You're not sort of looking to pose those sorts of shots. It's like, here is the thing. Cool. Taking a photo of it. It told me I did. Brilliant. Move to the next thing.
It's like cell phone camera pre 3 years ago when they figured out how to fake focus.
Yes. Yeah. But it gives you those checklists of things, and what you're trying to do is you're on this little sort of like journey to go to a space to kind of see things, and the idea is you get a free bus ride if you get enough stamps on your card, and to get stamps you have to do things for people, and to do things for people is usually take a photo of this thing. So you walk around the environments, all sort of isometric, moving between different screens, looking for said things. And you take a photo of it, and you go back to that person and say, here's the photos I took, and they go, cool, thanks very much, here's your stamp, and you move on. And it's super cute, it looks really good, it seems like something that you would spend a few hours with and be like, yeah, I'm super satisfied with that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It's my kind of game, and
absolutely.
I need to download the demo now because I realised that was on.
I played it for maybe sort of 20-30 minutes. Which wasn't the extent of it. I could have carried on kind of playing. I don't know how long you get with that, but definitely have a look at that. The next one was Unbeatable, which
This one
is a rhythm game.
Oh yes, I've heard of this
but
one.
Anime ass rhythm game. What again? Another absolutely phenomenally beautiful looking game. The art style on this is wonderful. I wasn't quite as sold playing it. I will say that. So it's very limited in the controls that you do. You're essentially moving up and down to hit things that are coming in from the side of you. But the demo only let me didn't only let me play one song. The demo ran and I played one song and then it jumped me out. I don't know whether I can go back in and play a different song or something like that, but I only played the one, and it was like jump up to hit the thing coming across, jump down to hit the thing. press X to hit on the bottom and press it up. So I was double tapping things to hit both of them, and it got quite complicated quite fast. But as part of the demo that I saw, or as part of the trailer that I saw, it's like this punk K-pop style of music, you know, this band traveling around with a story which seems to have some kind of level of sort of like dialogue choices and things like that you can kind of put into it, and you get a little bit of that in the demo as well. But it just seems something fun to fuck around with for a little while.
Yeah.
So the art style
rhythm
is the thing that
games.
sold me.
Yeah, rhythm games. I'm not good at them, but when they're put in like a different vehicle, you know, such as, you know, almost a button mashing fighting game, or
Yeah.
I think there was like Double Kick Heroes where you're basically in the back of a van or something like that, and it's just the presentation around them can get me in, even though I'm just awful at them because didn't play Rock Band but more any of those back in the day. So.
Oh man, the amount of notes that I missed or got kind of like bad at the end, because it gives you a rating. It is a rhythm game. It gives you a rating at the end of the song that you play, and I think out of like I don't know, say it's 100, I got like 70% good.
That's good.
20% okay, 10% miss sort of thing. There were a few more ranks to that.
That's pretty good.
But again, I felt like I was doing poorly when I was playing through it. I'm like, yeah, I've got it, or I know I've let the button go too quickly, so I haven't fully finished that one, because I then panicked about where it moved, and it's very fast. It's really fast.
I mean, I think that's just rhythm games.
It's a panic.
Yeah.
I think the worst example of that is like Night in the Woods, where it's like it's just awful. It's like just hitting the wrong note. It's got a twang, and it's
just throws you off.
See the grimace of
But overall, it worked for you, as someone who doesn't play rhythm games often. Is that the case? The demo got you enough?
Absolutely, and it does it differently. That the music isn't just flowing from one side; it actually comes from both, as well. So it pulls you kind of to look at the different sort of things as well. So it isn't just, you know, with a rhythm game, you can sort of sit there like with Guitar Hero, you can look at the top of the screen and you know, kind of you've already catalogued what's coming, so you can just like go for it. I mean, and track it.
But also it was something that
pulled you away to different sort of sides. So
yeah, I think that's good, because like one of the things about Guitar Hero and those types of games is not only can you just, it's kind of memorization through rote, but there's a thing on the screen, so you're kind of zoning out. But also, even when you're learning it, you're only like, this is the part of the screen that matters. Sorry, podcast listeners, I'm gesturing to the far right and only the far right, because I don't like saying that turn of phrase. But like when you get good enough at these games, you are literally tuning out of anything else, which means all of the fancy graphics or good art design or anything else is gone. So even making you like look to the left and the right, at least like forces you to engage with the rest of the screen, which might be bad for precise gameplay reasons, but is better for like observing the game and its assets and all the other things.
Yeah, and it does a good thing of kind of two layering it as well. So you moved through the environment, and I was stood with the band, and it then washed out that bit and then put the music in front of that, and that was the colourful kind of bit. So you weren't distracted from anything kind of behind. It was just you're looking at the screen like this, and everything's flowing from this side, and then suddenly it zooms out and then zooms back in, and things are flowing from this side. And you're like, fuck, okay, I didn't have to press any buttons. I didn't have to go from left to right. It automatically shifted me there. But it was enough for me to be like, oh, my brain doesn't like this. What do I do? Okay, now I get back into it. So it was interesting enough that it kind of threw me out to think, what do I do? No, it's fine. Just keep going.
Right.
I've downloaded the demo.
So yeah, Unbeatable. Really good.
Yeah, it's on my list.
I can't remember, is it the demo might be called Unbeatable White Label or something like that?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool.
It's a free game on Steam called Unbeatable Square Bracket White Label Square Bracket.
I think that was kicking around before E3.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it has been, yeah.
It came out May 7th.
Kickstarter going, I think, as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And finally, Road 96.
Wait, what's this? Do I not know this?
Road 96. Again, a trailer
Interesting.
which pulls in thoughts of at least Firewatch in terms of sort of aesthetics.
Absolutely.
But is going for a kind of a story-driven, dialogue-based kind of game. And the trailer didn't sell me so much as the demo. So I hadn't written Road 96 down on my list of games. After playing the demo, I absolutely want to play this game.
That is so good to hear, because I was the same. This seems like maybe too open-ended. I'm not sure if I'm with this. I like what they're trying to convey, but like some of the trailers I've seen seems a bit all over the place. But okay,
Yeah.
I'm downloading the demo.
I mean, I'm gonna have to download the demo as well, because I muted my mic so I could just play the 50-second trailer, and I got like 2/3 of the way through, and I was like, this seems like meh. And that's when I obviously I was still listening to you saying, oh, the demo sells it. I'm like, oh, this is a bad trailer then, because nothing about that trailer interested in me.
Yep.
And
I am so
I'm like, and then meanwhile in my ear you're like, no, this is like Firewatch-esque, etc. I'm like, wait, what? No, just close this tab. Fuck this trailer. Don't finish it. Clearly it's not selling it well. Because like, yeah, if I know you, and you wouldn't. What the trailer is selling is like, I'm gonna hold back words, but I've had a couple strong beers. No, I won't.
Yeah.
This looks like a dog shit narrative. That's what the trailer says. So the fact that you are saying this is interesting, like, means it's not dog shit, but it definitely feels like that.
Completely. And I think the thing that I got from the demo, and the demo did say towards when I finished it, it said you can replay this, and there are different things that you can do even within the demo.
Oh wow!
That kind of then shows you the breadth of things that are kind of happening within the game. The kind of the trailer suggests that it is a narrative game, and you sit in a cab with a character, and you look around the cab and see some things, and then have a conversation, and that may be a positive or negative effect. But actually, I think there's ways within this that you encounter different characters at different times. There's different routes that you can kind of take. There's different things that you can kind of do, different decisions that you can make. In the demo, you end up at this gas station, almost like pretty quickly, and there's different ways that you can progress out of that gas station, which I would imagine then, I can say I'm going to do X to leave the gas station. Yeah. You can do Y to leave the gas station, and we will have completely different experiences of this game. And I think that's what the demo shows very, very well, that everyone will have different experiences with this game. It isn't just a narrative pull through of a set path. It is a almost like play your own adventure kind of thing.
Right.
And I think that doesn't convey well enough across the trailer.
No, because I was there with you, Ben, and I was not convinced. It sort of looked like that cancelled Steven Spielberg LMNO alien game that starts in like. Yeah, but I'm done.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the branching paths is the thing. Like the road96.com says, like the splashes, no one's road is the same, and I think that's the missing thing from a pre-beat trailer. Like I think they didn't know how to sell how much choice might be involved.
At the end of the trailers that I've seen, it does like that kind of like ticker, like goes up like these are all the permutations.
Yeah, but I feel like that doesn't.
Yeah, but
you kind of need to see.
You need to see it, because you just think that's like you have that like kind of No Man's Sky feeling where it's like they say infinite world. Like it doesn't. Until you see it, you can't believe it, because it's especially for a game on this, budget and scope.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the scope's huge, but like on this budget and this indie game that's come out of nowhere, it feels like snake oil, and it's like you need to see it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
Demo. Good.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I would have seen that. Like I'm behind in E3 stuff, and I would have. I'm not even sure I would have hit play on that, and if I would have, I
Mhm.
would have just walked away. So I mean, this PSA. This is why you play demos and don't just watch trailers.
Yeah.
If you have the time.
Always.
I'm glad demos are back now. Thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there was like a 5-year period where nothing had a demo.
Probably more. Probably
It's
like
got to be
Yeah,
more, 10
probably
after
years.
like Xbox, like for like the whole of the last generation, like after Xbox Live, way like, well, not the arcade kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My takeaways are obviously Metroid,
Mhm.
new Forza looks
Right.
incredible. I think Forza
Oh,
4 is the best. Horizon 4 is the best racing game I've ever played.
Horizon 5 was on my list, but I knew Lucy would bring it up.
Yes. Just the different biomes and going to Mexico. Like the UK one was great, but there's going to be more diversity in the biomes in Mexico,
Yes.
so fantastic. Somerville was on there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's this. I think the biggest takeaway of the indie streams were probably better than
Yeah, I was just-
anything else. Hmm.
I was gonna say, I think it's very telling that, except for like the weird. So for me, it's like the weird team up between Team Ninja and Square Enix, which I didn't expect, was the only real big game I had. I mean, Starfield was more of a like, we can mention this, but other than that, they're all small games. Like
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
where I'm interested. And now, thanks to you two, I have more smaller games to look forward to.
Well, hopefully everyone has a few smaller games to look forward to. Listeners, if you have games that we've missed that you are really interested in, you can get hold of us in lots of different ways at TankedUpCast on Twitter. Let us know what you enjoyed from E3, or also what demos you're playing from the Steam Next Fest. We'll jump back into beers very, very quickly before we round up for the episode. Lucy,
Yes.
you sort of kicked us off. You
Ooh.
had 3 beers essentially.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
The
have a
first
preference?
one doesn't quite rank.
Mm.
It's a tough one.
Okay.
That's a good thing, then.
Yeah, it is a good thing. And I don't want to do my, famous cop out of both were great, but ooh.
Do you want us to circle
Come
back?
back to me. Yeah, circle
Yeah.
back.
Aadil, we'll jump to you then.
Oh, what have I done? It's also pretty tough. I really like the King Maker 2021 IPA, triple IPA, and I also really enjoyed the Shattered Dream Nitro. I think, and this might just be recency bias, I think I'm going to go with the Siren's Shattered Dream Nitro Imperial Breakfast Stout. They both were really good. They both had really interesting taste curves, etc. Honestly, I think and again, this might just be recency bias, but I think the Shattered Dream Nitro just was a little more cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that they clearly add, like, the vanilla was like helping bind the stronger alcohol taste to the coffee, and the cacao nibs, and like basically the lactose, the vanilla were helping make this sort of very coffee-ish beer taste not too coffee-ish, but but underneath we're still having these like these malts were clearly burnt coffee tasting, and they weren't just the coffee that, the nitro whatever. It was just like, oh, I can tell these notes are from the malts, and they're stitching really well. Like, I think the whole thing, just all of the tastes were working really well together throughout the beginning, middle, and end of the taste. And I could sort of, because I was focusing on it, I could tell kind of, I'm pretty sure this note is from this and not that, like from the cacao versus the coffee versus the actual beer, those types of things. But overall, everything was just so smooth and so well stitched together, while not being like glutted. Like, I could tell the difference. I could see that this was a nuanced beer. I could appreciate the sweetness and the vanilla bringing things up without just making it kind of messy sweet. And so I think it's just, like I said, the layers being there but also knitted together. I think that's why I like the Siren a little more. Just it had a lot going on, but it never felt busy, I guess.
Okay, cool.
It felt very like clear.
Nice. I think for me it's a difficult one as well, but because both beers felt a little bit underwhelming this week, I think I'd go with the track, Broken Clouds.
Yeah.
It's not it's a double IPA more on that earthy stewed fruits kind of side rather than the juice bomby sweet sort of side. But for me, the new Bristol Milkshake IPA just fell a little bit too flat. So it tried to be Milkshake IPA, it wasn't quite a Milkshake IPA. It tried to have these tropical fruits to it, they didn't come through too much. It had coconut in it, that was a bit more overpowering and left this kind of not fantastic kind of creamy sort of taste at the end. Like, just didn't gel very well as a beer. Whereas the Broken Clouds, not Broken Clouds, yeah, Broken Clouds. The Broken Clouds, it was a beer and it hit those kind of notes all the way through. And yes, it was a little bit more earthy and lent more into that sort of side of things. But I think it was maybe a little bit more well made than the New Bristol, the Boogie Below, which was the Milkshake IPA.
Right.
So it is the track Gold Top. Broken Clouds for me this week.
Yeah.
Lucy.
Yeah. I want to see more from track. Like, I don't know if it's like they didn't quite, fall in step with the pandemic as, like some other breweries did, and like getting their stuff more out there. But I've not seen much from them.
No,
recently,
I haven't either.
especially in terms of new stuff.
And this is why I picked this up, because it's the first track I've seen for a little while.
Yeah, because theirs was probably one of the last breweries I visited before the pandemic when I went to Manchester, late 2019. But yeah, because I've really enjoyed their beer, so yeah, I might look into them, see if they do like national, see if I can find them a bit more. But yeah, I've decided that both fantastic beers. Like, I'd have them both again in the same night. Just in an odd way, they just perfectly complemented each other. Having like a slightly more refreshing sour, and then later on into the evening having like a it was a DIPA, but it doesn't taste. It tastes like an But yeah, I think because Linear Phase and Equilibrium, their beers are tasting a bit samey. I think I'm going to give it to the Purple Prose, because I think it may be the first Grimm beer that I've had. As far as I can remember or can tell. But, and yeah, really solid. Like, I'm pretty sure it's harder to make a palatable sour ale than it is to make a double IPA.
That's fair.
And yeah, and I think, just if this could be like aged, it would taste, as I say, not quite on par with like some of the best lambic beers out there, but it's knocking on their door. It's really good. It's really good. I think it's because I have like some Cantillon downstairs that I actually bought last week. I think that's what, and it's like I've had some of Pastore's beers recently, which I'm really impressed with as well. I think that's why I'm not quite as hyped about it, but it is a fantastic beer. Yeah, just the freshness, that tartness, the getting all that fruit. It's like there's no compromise. I'd love to know how many kilograms of fruit that they put in it. And yeah, just a really good sour ale. So
amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Grimm.
Perfect. So
solid.
They are our beers. They are the games that we have played and those that we have picked from E3 this week. Thank you everybody for joining us. You can get us at Tanked Upcast, as I mentioned, over on the socials, or Out of Lives Net on most of the socials too. You can go to outoflives.net to see the backlog of all the podcasts, or listen to other podcasts that we put up. This Next Act, which is the comedy podcast which Aadil produces, has started up again. So that is back in your podcast service of choice, or on outoflives.net if you want to look at it there as well. Plus all of the articles that we put out There's some stuff coming on our YouTube page as well from Lucy and I, all about The Last of Us Part 2, which is coming up in the next couple of
I'm
weeks.
stoked for that.
So we'll be putting
You need
that
to
up
play the
very
game
soon.
first, sir.
It spoils.
You need to play the first game.
It does spoil a little bit, so play the game first. You can get me at Nova_47. Lucy is JuicyLuce9. Aadil is at the Omniarch. If you're watching us on Twitch, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hit that follow, subscribe button if you've got some spare change to throw our way. If you're watching us on
For an
YouTube,
Amazon Prime subscription where you can sub to us for free.
Just those bitties.
use the bits. If you're on YouTube, share with a friend. That's the best way to get us out there and to expand the conversation. You can also join us in our Discord. That is linked on our Twitter page too.
Yeah, we're not asking you to share it with your best friend. Maybe just one you haven't spoken to in like several years, and you don't care if you burn bridges.
Hey,
yeah,
exactly. I've seen you shared crap.
I mean,
before.
also,
Here you go. There you go. You know, we haven't spoken for years. It's fine.
Share the pod, review the pod. If you see the VOD, comment on it on YouTube. It helps the engagement algorithms, blah, blah. Basically, the things you can do helps us reach more people, helps us continue doing this thing, which you apparently enjoyed at least today.
Yes.
hopefully.
Perfect. And a lovely note to finish out on. For this week, we've been Tanked Up. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net